So.
Hello, welcome to tonight's live stream. Please let us know if you can hear us because our microphones are not working. It'd be awesome if you could put that in the chat. We are so happy you're here. My name is Adrian and this is my husband, Tyler.
Hello, I'm Tyler.
Tonight we are going to talk because we are very different and we're coming from different medical places, different lifestyles, different ways of eating, and we've both added a GLP-1 to our life. And it has been very different. Everybody said they can hear us, so we're going to keep going. Let's see here. Okay, if you guys have any questions, please put QQQ in front or question or something so we can try to grab it, okay? Lewis says it's nice to finally meet you.
Yeah.
Let's see here. A little background. We've been together for about 10 years. 10 long, awful years, right?
I don't know if I'd say that. Yeah.
From the second he met me, I had already had gastric bypass and I was already struggling with food. I was struggling with weight gain. I was struggling with reactive hypoglycemia. Do you remember? You want to tell us how the first date was?
Well, very. I mean, it was, hey, I wanted to take her out to eat, and it was like, well, there's only one restaurant I can go to, and even then it's questionable. So, yeah, no, the hypoglycemia was very serious right from day one for sure.
Yeah, so first night he takes me to a restaurant that is all pasta.
Well, it was a very nice Italian restaurant. Yeah, that's what they serve there.
So one of the number one questions I always get is, does Tyler eat like me?
No, not at all. So I mean, I pride myself in my wife being a stay-at-home mom, and that involves, a lot of working on my part. So I'm on the road a lot. And the temptations of fast food and gas stations and things like that are a reality. That's where a lot of the meals get eaten.
Yeah, so it's kind of hard. Some people will ask, like, how do you do it living with someone who doesn't eat like you? Well, he's gone a lot. So I get to control this environment really a lot. So it hasn't been too hard. But we both had our ups and downs with our weight. He won't admit it, but we both have our own little medical issues going on. For me, it's been the reactive hypoglycemia, the just constant weight gain, autoimmune stuff, long COVID, just a lot of food reactions, like chronic fatigue. For him, what would you say you have?
Well,
let's hear it.
Well, I mean,
are you willing to admit to anything?
Well, there's no doubt that I've had issues. What causes them is somewhat debatable. I mean, I had a twisted bowel at one point about 2 or 3 years ago, 2 years ago. Because of some of the things that I eat, ultimately irritated my stomach to the point that it swelled itself shut. Awful experience. So that was part of it, of like, hey, I got to be more careful of the things that I eat, mainly because I'm 40 now, and your body's, you can't eat like you're 12 anymore. So that was definitely one of the issues. But really, even long time ago, when I was a senior in high school, I had pancreatitis, and I think that was probably contributed to a Mountain Dew and Little Caesars. If I had to guess, those are the types of things that if you eat like an idiot, you'll pay the price for sure. And I've paid the price.
I openly talk about, just so you know, that I have had a lot of worries about you. And a lot of people will say too, aren't you worried about your husband because he just eats like standard American? And a lot of, like, one of the number one comments he gets everywhere he goes, because he does a lot of traveling, and he'll get this like everywhere he goes, is like, should we be reporting something or what's going on here? Like,
yeah, well,
are you safe?
And I don't know if the darkness in my eyes has anything to do with how I eat. Adrian would say that it does. My mom had the same thing, and she actually had surgery to help with the darkness around her eyes. So, I mean, people have asked if I'm a champion fighter, and of course I say yes, I am. Because you just got to go with those things, and so yeah, I'm a champion fighter. That's why my eyes are dark.
Can you scoot forward a little bit so we could be equal?
Oh.
So he's got dark circles under his eyes. He also has skin tags and high blood pressure.
Yeah.
All those are signs of insulin resistance. So I have been worried about him. And of course, I'd love for him to do carnivore. We went on a cruise 1 year ago with the True Crazy Ketos. And when we got back, he was inspired. And what did you do?
Well, inspired is not the right word. So what I wanted to do was ride the zip line, and it had a limit of 275 pounds. And at that moment, I was 278 pounds, and I didn't have, it's not like you were in northern Minnesota in the winter and they were weighing your jacket and everything else. We were 85 degrees in Haiti with shorts and tennis shoes on and nothing else. So it was a pretty accurate weight at that time. And that was kind of like, yeah, I need to do something a little bit different. Nothing too extreme. I'm not going to eat sardines 3 days in a row or nothing nuts, but I at least he's at that point recognized I'm a little too fat to ride the zip line, and I should get myself in a position where I can ride the zip line in the future.
Lewis, you are correct. I am 40, turning 41 next month, and Tyler turns 41 in August. So we are all about the same age. And, this is an age, I mean, you wanted to kind of bring up just generally like the health of our nation. And I think this is an age where you start seeing like you can't get away with eating like this anymore.
Yeah, so I kind of brought up, and me and Adrian were talking, and I wonder if part of the obesity epidemic is that people just don't care anymore. And now it's socially acceptable to put on your sweatpants and head to Walmart, and and you don't, there's not as much judgment, to some aspect as there might have been in the 50s and 60s and 70s of where it felt like people cared a lot more about what they looked like in 30, 40, 50 years ago. And I'm not sure if that plays a role in the obesity as much as now that we're served the food that we are. The options that we have definitely aren't as healthy as they were in the 50s and 60s as well, before seed oil was in everything.
I think this is a topic where we see things so differently. We were just talking about this in our Eat Meat, Lift Heavy GLP group. If you're looking for any support, this is the name of the group. And we're on Facebook. It's a free group for support. Men, generally speaking, not all men, not all, especially my friends that are men, because they're like me in this category right here, but a lot of men like you can get away with eating junk food and doing the bare minimum for a very long time. And most women have to start working at it in their teens. And so then we are constantly working. You guys come in, you add a little steak, maybe you walk a little bit, and boom, all the weight's gone. And then we hear comments like, why can't you just work out and eat healthy like me? And it's like, oh my gosh, every day I do more than you just did to lose all your weight just so I don't gain 100 pounds. We were just talking about this. So I personally feel very, very strongly that I believe, and this is where we need like the tinfoil hat, a banner from Lioness Lifestyle Live. I believe that there's damage to our digestive system. I believe that it's maybe nerve damage. I think also all the antibiotics, because you can look like my oldest son, he had chronic ear infection. So he had antibiotic. You destroy that gut biome. And I don't know if it's repairable. I had pneumonia at 18 months old. So I had antibiotics very, very young as a baby. And I just wonder if the receptors don't work as well. If there's damage to the gut biome, there's damage to the nerves, and that's what's causing this. What could be causing the damage to not just antibiotics, but maybe, the air, the water, the EMFs, all of,
Yeah.
It's out of our control, I think, and I hope that the world makes a change, but that's what I don't think people want to be overweight. I think it's becoming accepted because people don't know what else to do. They can't just eat nothing but sardines.
Sure. No, yeah, I think some of the extreme dieting that a ton of people are finding themselves going through to try and compensate for the struggles with weight are very real. There's no doubt about that. I mean, I am I am happy to say that as I weighed myself this morning, I'm 234, down from 278. And when I first started, shortly after the trip, where I wasn't able to zip line, I started taking an extremely low dose of trizepatide, and it was it worked very well for me. Now, there was some issues in the very beginning because we weren't sure exactly where the dosage should be.
You're skipping ahead.
Sorry, I
Hey,
didn't read the
I want to
notes.
go back to one more thing here. After we got back from the Two Crazy Ketos cruise, both of us had horrible gut inflammation, like way out here.
Mhm.
And if I remember correctly, but you say I don't remember things the same as you, you wanted to try carnivore because your gut hurt so bad. And you were concerned because you had already been hospitalized for the gut inflammation. So if I remember correctly, you cut a lot of pop. You still had some here and there. You still had a few French fries, but other than that, you were mostly eating meat.
Oh, sure. And I went to sugar-free pop, even though I did cut out, a lot of pop, but the pop, I was still drinking some pop, and it was a sugar-free, because I have had other flare-ups where my stomach becomes inflamed. And it was kind of like, it didn't seem reasonable to go to the hospital every time that your stomach feels inflamed, but it was like I have to figure out what's going to work for me, that I can cope with this, and be able to eventually have it go away completely. um
And you now have, how did you feel when you did that?
better, absolutely. I mean, and it was part of the journey of saying, hey, listen, I need to do things a little bit better. And it was really then when I realized just how in your face all of the garbage food is. I hadn't really paid attention before, but I mean, try to walk into a gas station and get something that's halfway healthy. I mean, short of nuts, which you would say aren't healthy. Um, um, Short of like some cashews or something healthy like that that I would consider healthy.
I'd rather they eat nuts than candy bars.
But yeah, I mean, that's all it is chips and candy bars, and things that are very convenient, but are killing you.
Yeah. So you gave it a try. You did kind of slowly revert, but I remember watching you kind of reverting and going, this just doesn't feel as good. And so there's been something off. That was in February. There's been kind of something off, and there was like a missing piece. So meanwhile, I in April went lion diet, hoping that would finally help me. And it actually made me worse. And I'm gonna have Maria Emmerich on my channel. We're filming next week, and I'm going to ask her about her thoughts on lion, because she's seen a lot of people. When I told her my experience, she said she'd seen a lot of this where lion actually made people more inflamed, hormones tanked, didn't feel good. It's just not enough nutrition. If I were someone out there, I would consider figuring out how to go sea lion, or egg lion, something else besides just ruminant meat. If it were just me, I would look into that. It's really hard though. There's not that much info out there, but after lion diet failed, that's when my heart was like really, really broken, because to be carnivore, you really got to put your heart and your belief and your soul into, this is going to work. This is the ticket. This is difference. And it's a lot of work. You have to be the weird one all the time. You always have to ask for special things. And so when lion didn't really work, that's when I was like, there's a missing piece for me too. So I went throughout the summer. I stopped tracking, added dairy back, and instead of working out 5 days a week, I only worked out like 1 to 2, and I gained 30 pounds. How did that make you feel?
I can relate with Vanessa, who says that sardines make her want to vomit. I haven't even really tried them per se, but I just know that that's the same effect they would have on me. I'm kind of a picky eater, but yeah, I'm just not hardcore enough. Like, to me, it's like that is not sustainable. I'm just not gonna eat those. And I was fine with purchasing a fancy grill and having it in the back of my truck and buying steaks and trying to cook while on the road traveling and working, consulting. And it's just so tough. But I can definitely relate to what Anessa had to say.
When you came home last night, how was it? Like, was there like a
Oh, the whole house smells like we're a fish market, for the love of God.
I made fish patties and it was so bad that even I was like, we're gonna have to crack windows. And so we did. Don't tell Tyler about the heating bill, but like we could not breathe. We had all the fans going. It was so bad. And it, like, I don't know, sticks to your furniture. Don't fry sardines. Don't do it. Um, Rachel says that she too was the pickiest eater for the longest time, and you can do it. So the summer goes by, and I'm just kind of sitting back. I'm kind of praying. I'm not giving up on carnivore. I know this is the best thing for my reactive hypoglycemia. I know for my boys and my kids who have different things going on that it's best for them to mostly eat meat and not eat processed foods and not eat ton of sugar. So we continue on with this. And then in August, I saw a podcast from Dr. Amy Horniman, and she said, and I was like, sometimes I like to listen things that I completely disagree with just because. I don't know about you guys, but I do. And she wrote, "The Miracle of GLP-1" was the title. I was like, what? No. And I listened and I was like, because she talked about autoimmune, she talked about reduced inflammation, she talked about the gut healing, she talked about all the things. And if you guys check my playlist, there's a playlist of GLP-1 doctors and her podcast is in there. And then I had to balance it out because I was like, I think I'm so confused right now. I'm having, what is it, cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance is coming over me right now.
Well, and we had heard stories about, Ozempic,
We have family members.
and it's like, yeah, it's wonderful. You're so sick from the minute that you take it, you don't even think about eating. And I'm like, listen, if this makes me nauseous one time, and that's it, I'm done with it. It's not going to work for me. Like, I care, but I don't care that much. Like, I'll have to figure something else out because I'm not going to be sick. Um, if there's a medicine that makes me sick, then that's telling me that shouldn't be in my body. Like, that's not going to work for me. But
I have like, after I lost a few pounds on carnivore, I had like 5 family members go on GLP-1. And honestly, they didn't change what they were eating really when they started. When they started, they did not really change what they were eating. And I didn't see them exercising. And I heard them talk, whether it was every day or not. In my mind, it was every day that they were nauseous. I saw them eating chocolate. I saw them drinking wine. And so I'm sitting here criticizing them. I like to say, before we keep going down that path, that in the end, most of them have made significant food choices that have changed. They've also added weightlifting and toning, and they're living their best life. Like, they may have come into it struggling with food, addiction, cravings, but they came out of it making better choices, feeling better, moving their bodies. So I don't judge anybody's journey who's on this. But anyway, I was having cognitive dissonance. So I kept going down the rabbit hole. I found Dr. Tina. We just keep going, Dr. Lauren Fitz. I reach out to a couple friends like Dr. Lisa. Immediately, I reached out to her because she's like my addiction person. And I said, have you looked into this? And she goes, I have. And if you listen to too much Tina, it makes you really just Jones for it. That's not what she said. She said that it sounded like a real good sales pitch, but she reminded me to get back to the basics of, are we eating meat? Like, are we doing all the right things? Because there's no drug on earth, that is a replacement for doing the lifestyle things that we were already doing, and making sure we're working on not eating addictive foods and educating ourselves. And so she just went back to the basics. She said, yes, Tina sounds amazing, but are we still in the basics? Because there's just not enough info yet, she said. And I was like, I know, you're right. So I kept digging, and I ended up at midnight one night, I just hit the submit button and I ordered it. And I was like, I'm never telling anyone. I can't tell Lisa. I can't tell Tyler. I can't tell anybody. Oh my gosh, I can't tell anybody. But I really wanted that reduced inflammation. I really, like, my cycles every 21 days, I was getting between 8 and 14 pounds of inflammation. It was so unbelievably cringy. And I had already added progesterone, bioidentical. I had already added T3 medication. We had upped it. I'm already on LDN. I'm already eating the meat. I tried the lion diet. This inflammation is out of control. And so about like the next morning.
well, if you know Adrian, she's really good at keeping secrets. So She ordered it at midnight. At 2 a.m, she woke me up and let me know, oh my gosh, I gotta tell you something. No, it wasn't quite that bad. Pretty close though.
Yeah, like I feel like it was like a couple breaths, like 5 seconds later. And I like braced myself for this conversation. And he pretty much went, oh, okay, just don't tell anybody.
Well, like I had seen how hard she had worked, and it's like, listen, if you think that this is going to do something for you, great. I mean, who am I to judge? Go ahead and like the 15,000 supplements you've tried, go ahead and give it a whirl. You know, I've seen every other supplement come and go. You can try it, and let me know how it goes.
Yeah, he was actually really nice about it. So if you're one of those people out there who's concerned about telling your spouse, I he knows coming with it though too. I'm just gonna fill his head too with why. It wasn't just like, hey, I want to be on the same weight loss medication as some of those people who are getting sick. It was, did you know that if we took this low, that we could avoid side effects? Did you know this could help me with my autoimmune? Did you know this could potentially help kids with autism? Did you know this could potentially help this and that and this and that? So I gave him the why too, but he was really good. He didn't even care.
No, well,
He had
I
to
mean,
roll with my
what
punches.
I said was, how long do you think you'll have to take this? And
Yeah.
and you know, I don't want to see you on a medicine that at that time seemed brand new. And are you aware of what the side effects could be? Because I don't want this to be something like fen where in a few years you have a heart attack and we just don't really know why, or it gets pulled from the market completely because it's been proven to be, you know, who have side effects that weren't originally apparent. So those were some of the concerns for sure. But I mean, there was at that time, and there was a lot more research that had been done that I wasn't aware of, and that's great. She was very well aware of everything that could be known about it at the time.
I want to be very clear, and I think anybody who's here probably knows this. After what a nightmare my gastric bypass is, I truly, and then also taking just antidepressants while pregnant and being told that that's totally fine. And then later having kids that have issues, taking something as simple as antibiotics while pregnant. And then having kids with colic and having all these issues and having eczema and allergies and all the things, and we could go into the other things, the other things. I am pretty, let's take as little medicine as possible.
Well, it's something that I was absolutely shocked. So when our first son was born, I mean, as soon as his teeth came in, they rotted right out of his mouth, like nothing you could ever even imagine. And at the time, nobody said anything about having to take an antibiotic when you're pregnant. That was perfectly acceptable. And then later on down the road, it was like, oh yeah, by the way, all of his teeth rotted out completely when he was, 2, because he was not because you had taken an antibiotic. The good thing there is luckily the antibiotics well out of him before his adult teeth ever come in, and they'll be fine. But $40,000 later in dental caps on every single tooth, you just go, wow. It sure would have been nice if somebody would have said, hey, do you understand what this antibiotic might do, and what some of the side effects could be? Because that was definitely never brought up in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, so I gave it a try, and I would say I think it was a week and a half after I started, I convinced him to do it too.
Well, I mean, I had heard of all the great things. Hell, who doesn't want to, be a part of all that greatness? So, yeah.
And my worry with him is the insulin resistance. My worry is his heart. He doesn't know this, but he absolutely rhythmically stops breathing while he's sleeping. And since being on this medication, it's not something I've noticed.
I think I sleep great. I don't know where you come from with that, but
No, he was taking naps as many as he could. Like obviously he works a job, but if is there ever a day off, or maybe he's just so freaking tired that he just ends his day early, because sometimes on his contract jobs he can do that. He's napping at 2 o'clock every day. He was not getting good sleep at all. And that's worrisome. If you guys don't, I'm sure you guys know. You guys are so enlightened, but sleep apnea over time destroys your cardiovascular health, and it's silent because you don't even know what's happening. So I've been super worried about him, and I'm really glad that he's taking it. And some people will say, gosh, we don't want people on it who aren't going to make lifestyle changes. He's still drinking pop, he's not exercising, but we're putting a plug in it and it's making him feel better. and it's getting him into a place, I think, where he can make better and better decisions.
Sure, yeah. I mean, there's no doubt you feel better on it, 100%. I mean, a lot more energy, and maybe that was just me, but yeah, a lot more energy, and I did see weight, fall off, no doubt about it. I mean, I went from, I went down 2 pants sizes, and um, I've lost almost 45 pounds. It's without really any significant changes whatsoever. But something else is I'm very sensitive to it. Like
what? Yes, talk about dosing.
Yes, what would be recommended as the starting dose is like all I can handle. And people would say, well, how do you know what changes? Well, I used to go from being able to eat 5 tacos at Taco Bell to now I eat 2, and I'm like, whew, I am full. I'm good. Um, and really that's the type of changes that I've seen of I don't need to eat, and to the point now. And it was weird in the beginning because I would still order what I would always eat, and there would be 3 left over, and you just go, wow, that's very abnormal, but I really am full and I'm good.
So true, Jennifer. Like
Yeah,
it used to be kind of like, can we button it? And now
it was never, can we button it? I wear clothes that fit. It's just, yeah.
Okay, so this is where the dosing comes in, and people in the functional space will say microdose, microdose, microdose. And here's where I'm at with that. First of all, just a little bit of a trigger comment that I feel like some functional people are judging your value on the dose that you take. Like, you didn't try hard enough if you can't get a therapeutic level at a really low dose of this medication. And the reason that really triggers me is because it feels very similar to, you couldn't carnivore hard enough, you couldn't Weight Watchers hard enough, you couldn't exercise hard enough. I honestly think that, I mean, and I'm digging into this, so this might be completely wrong, but I believe people have nerve damage, and I believe they have gut biome damage that's making it so that they're not reacting to this medication. Some people they're not, it's either not absorbing it, or their body is resistant and breaking it down really fast. And then some people are not resistant and they can take little itty bitty doses. Like Tyler was literally pre-diabetic, so marker wise he was not healthy. My markers were not pre-diabetic, but yet when I take this medication, I am not sensitive to it. I started on the 2.5, which, by the way, don't do that. I'm going to tell you why in a second. I started on the 2.5 and I was fine. I had a little meat aversion where I was like, ooh, I don't know. I'd rather eat something yogurt. I'd rather eat dairy. I don't necessarily want to chew on some steak. So that was like, maybe it was just a little too high for starting for me, and then there was just a tiny bit of fatigue, but that was it. Like it wasn't amazing. I could eat full meals and it was fine, but he started on the starting dose. And do you remember how bad it was?
Well, so I got the starting dose and I had to drive 12 hours to teach a welding class in Detroit, Michigan. And I almost was considering, like, do I go to the hospital? Because I had like these weird acid burps, and like I just didn't feel right. It was like, something just doesn't feel right. And I knew what I had taken, and but it was like, well, that's what the starting dose is, so that should be fine. Well, that's what I'm still on, and I still feel it, and it still works well. But that's, I'm not interested in taking any more because I don't need any more. I feel good on that dose.
From a very unprofessional standpoint, I need to go into do not disturb. Sorry, 1 second. Doop, doop, doop. I'm so sorry. If someone calls, we'll lose audio for like 2 minutes. Please don't get sick. Okay. Sorry about that. Please don't get sick. Okay.
There.
Whew. Hopefully Porter doesn't call us on his iPad, because for some reason he bypasses it. But anyway, sorry. So Tyler is much more sensitive. After 1 week on the starting dose, we moved him down to 0.8. And he still barely had he still didn't have an appetite on the 0.8.
No, I would eat lunch, a small lunch, and I would be good. I would be good until the next day. That was good. That was all I needed.
That's never been me. Never. Not on the 2.5, not on the 3, not on the 3.5, not on the 4, not on the 4.5. I started on September 9th, so he started on September, I don't know, 20th. So that's October, November, December, January, February. So I'm 5 months in. And once I hit 5, I just decided that's where I was going to stay and that I just needed to use my tools because I didn't ever want to get to a place where I can't get off of this. And I was worried about that. But if what makes it hard to get off it is the appetite suppression, well, I don't really have a ton of that. So I'm in a way, I hate to say this, but I've been a little bit envious of how you react.
Yeah, it works well for me, and I've had incredible energy. Like the first 3 days after I take the shot, the energy is fantastic.
Yeah, so I look at other markers for me. One of the markers is this is going to be so anti-carnivore, but I have done a few tests with carbohydrates. Prior to this, it's been 12 years of not being able to eat carbohydrates, period. And at the end, it was like lettuce and green beans, and I'm still having reactive hypoglycemia. So no carbohydrates for Adrian, or she gets this reactive hypoglycemia. I've done tests with, I know, seasonal apple pie at an event outside our home. I tried some bread.
A long time ago, yeah.
That was in October because it was apple season. I've tried a piece of bread a few times. All of that went fine. I didn't have reactive hypoglycemia, but there's been 3 things that did give me reactive hypoglycemia. Sugar-free ice cream, Funyuns. I'm gonna guess because they're powdered corn. It's just powder, so probably just poop goes right through you. And then I think I've tried a couple tortilla chips, and I think it's the corn. The corn is the. Part of the reason I went on this is because I had a theory that this would help me with my reactive hypoglycemia. Nowhere, anywhere did it say it would. It's just I knew it helped people with diabetes, and I essentially have a subversion of diabetes. I don't respond appropriately. My hormones don't act appropriately, and so I was hoping the slowed gastric would help my body respond, and then the antagonism of the thing would help me respond appropriately to food, and it has in many cases. Now, would I eat carbohydrates every single day? No, I still don't have an appropriate response.
Well, and I don't think, I mean, and I wish people could understand how serious your hypoglycemia is. It's not like, ooh, I felt a little jittery. It's like I'm laying on the floor, and do we call 911 because I'm about to have a seizure or not? It could happen at any second, one way or another. Is it going to get better or isn't it? Ooh, it could go either way. And it's not like something that, when we talk about, it's not like something that is played with. It's your blood sugar can get into the 30s. I mean, like very, very serious. So,
and there's no warning. It's boom. So I personally now carry, if this is something you struggle with, I personally now carry like a honey carnivore bar with me all of the time because it's the only thing I found that like brings me up because it's just that touch of honey and then flattens me out. Cheese seems okay, but like cheese doesn't really have a ton of carb to like bring you up. It can just, the fat can kind of level you out. I used to do peanut butter, but I don't anymore because it's so inflammatory. But peanut butter has a little bit of sugar and then protein and fat to flatten you out. So right now for the carnivore version, I use the carnivore bar and it's a lot better.
Yeah, so that aspect of it has been a huge benefit to you, in having almost eliminated, when you're being reasonable, it's almost eliminated that hypoglycemia, and that's been a huge benefit.
So dosage wise, he was at 0.8, 0.8, 0.8, 0.8 for months. For months. We slowly moved him up to 1, then 1. I don't even know why he takes 2.5. Like he could probably get away with like 0.8.
Yeah, well,
But he does. That's what he's at right now.
I feel good at that dose. That feels great to me.
I recently went up to 5.5.
That would kill me. I would be.
This is where I just feel like we really can't judge people's doses.
I couldn't even imagine.
But what I wouldn't do if I were people out there, even if you're like me and you're not very sensitive, I think you just have to check your other metrics. Have you checked your glucose and your ketones? Are you responding to food better? Are you able to eat food and maintain your weight? Now you know your metabolism's better. Do your hormones appear to be better? Like my hair and my nails, I used to have ridges. The ridges are gone. There's other metrics. My inflammation is down and I can feel it on my cycle. Instead of gaining 8 to 14 pounds, I gain like 1. So there's other metrics to me that are showing you that this is working behind the scenes. And do I wish I had some kind of amazing appetite suppression? Yes. I do have a quieting of the food noise because I go about my day and then it's lunchtime and I'm like, oh, it's lunchtime. Yay. I'm not thinking all morning, what am I having for lunch? It's like, what do I have to get done? Oh, I'm hungry. It's lunchtime. I eat lunch. Then I go about my day. And then it's dinner time. Yay, I love eating. I'm going to have like big dinner. And I would say my average is between 2,000 and 2,500. I know that this is working because throughout all of December, I did not track and I did not exercise and I did not gain weight. And this is the first time in my life. For this poor guy has probably been watching me go for years. For 10 years, you've been watching me go and then being crabby about it. Like it's crabby.
Yeah, well, you know, it's tough to see how much energy and effort goes into eating perfectly, and then you get, you know, you lose a few pounds and everything's great, and then it gets to be that time of the month, and it's like, whoop, overnight I gained 7 pounds, you know, and it's just like, and then I have to, you know, deal with that crabbiness.
And I mean, it's not just like, it's not just like 10 pounds. It's like, hey, my clothes don't fit anymore. Hey, I look pregnant again. Hey, why do I have such a big gut all the time?
Well, and it's not like when you know the week was over that the weight fell back off. You would start your, you know, your struggle back over again to work the weight back off. You know, and there's some things like that that I just can't relate to. I don't deal with any of that at all.
Yeah, you suck. I'm just kidding. I love you. This is like a fairly common man situation. You'll see a lot of men out there that they will write when the Ozempic, or we just call it Ozempic, GLP-1 conversation comes up, they will say, oh, that's for the lazy people who don't want to do the work like us. And it's like,
yeah, that's me. Perfect.
How many millions of people? The reason I came out is because I went to Keto Palooza and I saw my friends were struggling just like me. And I was like, people need to know it's not that you need to keto harder. You don't need to carnivore harder. If you need to carnivore harder, I think that's an indicator that there's something off that could use some help. And when you feel this, it's like relief, even though I don't really feel anything, but I do feel relief because I'm relieved from the chronic weight gain. There's some indication too and research about when you have diabetes, or like in my case with reactive hypoglycemia, that your pancreas gets used to hyperinsulin and it can't stop. And that's why we're gaining so much weight, is because of the pancreas and the insulin. And I don't know. And when we look at some of the blood work numbers of like, I'm cured of insulin resistance, it's like, well, this is a product of your diet, but I think the engine still needs repair. And I really think that this can help with that. They say if you exercise while you're on this, that it multiplies the healing to your metabolism. And we get a question a lot, and I'm going to ask you what you think about this, but what can you go off of it? And people who go off of it, you still have an improved metabolism. You still have a huge, better gut biome from the relief of the gut that happened during this medication. But we quickly, after we got on this, a couple weeks in, I said, I've been meaning to tell you something. A lot of people who go on this maybe stay on a low dose, especially if you've struggled with high blood pressure and sleep apnea and insulin resistance. A low dose long term. What are your thoughts on that?
Crazy. She mentions just the things that I happen to have. It's crazy that that's just them people. Just them people stay on it forever, by the way. I don't know. I mean,
They don't all have standard forever, but it's a category of someone who might find therapy long term.
Well, so I definitely feel better on it, and I enjoy how I feel on it. Not to make this like an infomercial, but you know, and so I'm not a needle person at all. So I only take it if Adrian's home to do it. because I'm not really into giving myself the shot. Not that I couldn't, but
I thought I'd make it an
I,
infomercial.
I just don't. So there was a week that when she was on Dr. Lisa's cruise that I didn't take it, and I gained 4 pounds, on the scale, and it was
Inflammation.
and it was like, okay, wow, I hadn't really seen the side effect of not taking it, and I didn't feel much different, but you definitely, with the scale that a little doesn't lie. So I could see that people would be on would be on like a maintenance low dose, long term. Um, yeah, unless there was a reason to get off of it, I don't see why you would.
There's some reasons why people might want to cycle. A person like you who's super sensitive, you could probably take the same dose for the rest of your life and it be just as effective. But for a person like me who struggles, I probably need to cycle off at some point to try to give those receptors a break and then come back on, or cycle different peptides that can also help. Is something I'm looking into, but I really want this to be a long-term tool. So part of the dosing I want to talk about is the low dose is going to be different for you than it is for you than it is for you. As long as you can eat your food and it's not work, you can eat your food. You haven't zapped out your appetite. You're still eating meat. You're still lifting and you're taking it slow. To me, that's a low dose.
Yeah, I can see how it would be very difficult for a doctor to even know where to start you there, because everybody is so much is so different. Just between us, what we've seen, there isn't a specified, low dose, as what's low for one person isn't low for the next person at all. So I mean, if there's a person who was interested in getting started on this, I would definitely start, very low until you feel a little something, and then, slowly build from there, because I can see how it would be difficult for anybody to know what low dose is low enough for whoever might be watching, that what's considered low for them.
We're both on tirzepatide, but I wouldn't be afraid of semaglutide. If it's cost prohibitive for you. Now, join Mochi, I think it's pretty affordable, both of them. And you got to know, like, the prices a year ago were totally different than they are today. Like a year ago, I want to say it was like $600 for each of them. I mean, it was way higher. And then all of the compound pharmacies and the telehealth just exploded and they started competing and the prices came down, 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 which leaves me really hopeful for the future that one day tirzepatide will be $89. I believe it will be, but I don't know. The fight is in. If you're looking to stock up, I would do your refills the second you can. Like with Lavender Sky, they send you 10 weeks. You can refill every 3 weeks, get those extras in. With Mochi, you can refill every 2 weeks from the date it's processed, but they also offer 3-month and 6-month supplies. And then if you don't qualify for either of those, you can send me an email, Adrian at Radically Healthy, and I have another provider that may be able to help you out. But I would consider stocking up. And then there's one that we can't talk about on YouTube. Anyway, okay, so start low, go slow. Let's make this sustainable, okay? But don't be afraid of semaglutide. I've seen my whole family's on it. We're the only ones on tirzepatide. Everybody else is on semaglutide, and they've done amazing. Would you suggest this to friends?
Yeah, it's kind of a crazy thing that you bring that up, because I often have friends of mine that'll say, I've been married for 10 years. My wife's had 2 kids. She just doesn't, she's gained some weight, 40, 30, 40, 50 pounds. And it's just not the same as it was when we first met. And then they look at my wife and go, well, what has your wife done? How is it that she's the same weight or less than when you met her? And then I ease it into them. Well, hey, you might want to consider a GLP-1. It's something to at least think about. And my friends typically say, oh my gosh, how could I ever even bring that up to my wife? It's such
She'd like share a video of mine.
it's such a sensitive topic, and I would never say anything like wow, you're not the same that you were. And all of us are getting older. It seems like it's part of getting older. I mean, I don't have the body I had at 18, that's for sure. and that's just part of getting older. But yeah, that's what I tell my
What I
friends.
wouldn't do is I mean, I think everybody should eat meat and I think everybody should exercise. But sometimes when you're coming in and you've done diets before and they didn't work, you gained your weight back, you felt sick, it was really hard. It was like grinding, constant grinding. It just didn't work and you're traumatized and you just keep gaining weight and you're frustrated. This might be unpopular to say, but like I would just start on a low dose. It'll make you feel a little better to get you motivated to start making better food choices. A lot of people say that it causes them, you tell us what it doesn't taste good to you anymore. It causes some people to start craving healthier foods.
Yeah, well, so mine's, I don't know if they want to get into the details, but I ate cheesy gordita crunches, and I would substitute the beef for the steak and no spicy ranch, add nacho cheese. But after a while, it got to be like, ugh, I don't know if I can eat that anymore. After a solid customer for, you know,
You
20
can't eat
years,
cheesy.
it just
You
wasn't
also can't eat
just wasn't
meatballs
the
anymore,
same.
really.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it seems to get more sensitive as time goes on. We used to eat it at Buffalo Wild Wings quite a bit, and that's it's still one that's it's a somewhat acceptable because they cook a lot of their chicken wings, or most of their fried food is fried in tallow. But outside of there, really, I have to avoid fried foods. It's which breaks my heart, but but it is what it is. That's I mean, nobody's going to eat food that makes them sick, and that's just a reality. And you bring up that people eat healthy, and a lot of when me and my friends have this conversation, they say, oh yes, when my wife she's been working on it, she's been eating a lot more salads and that sort of thing. So another major problem is knowing what is eating healthy, because like my parents and in the area where I grew up in Michigan, I mean, what's considered healthy is not considered healthy. I
It's not
mean,
actually healthy.
I mean, in my parents' eyes, to have a balanced diet means that you eat a few eggs, but you eat some muffins too. It's got to be
You
balanced.
got to be balanced.
And it's like I don't think that
But
that's
not
what they
just
meant.
muffins. Like they make like muffins and toast, and maybe they bought a couple sticky buns or they made them.
Yeah, and you have a bowl of cereal with it,
And you have a bowl of
and
cereal.
that's balanced. You're well balanced. That's healthy.
There's 8 of us. They made 6 eggs, and
Yeah, but you're balanced. So you then have a bowl of cereal
in their
and a muffin
defense,
too.
they're like a great example in my head of like why this isn't just a food problem. They eat standard American. They have energy. They have no weight issues. Their brains are there. Your dad is on high blood pressure medicine. I don't think your mom is on anything.
Nothing. Nope.
And they eat standard American diet.
Yeah.
And they
So
don't have cravings. They get full.
yeah, well, and so what's healthy, what's considered healthy food, really needs to be made clear, because that's a huge portion of this problem. Is if you're eating, truly healthy with the real foods, um, seeds and berries and nuts and fish and meat, yeah, real food, and that's what I consider healthy. And a lot of that does fall in the carnivore category, but real food type healthy. Anything processed, in my opinion, is not very good for you.
Um, One person said they are worried not necessarily about getting on it, but getting off of it. There was a video posted today by a girl named Madison. I forget what her last name is, but she told the story of how she went on this just for a period of time, and she's been off of it for 6 months. But what she did before she went off was slowly titrate down. So she titrated down, and then when she got to a pretty low dose, she moved it to every other week, and then every 3 weeks, and then every 4 weeks, and that's how she got it out of her system. She's maintained her weight loss for 6 months. My sister went off of it. She started weightlifting at the end, maybe halfway through. She was weightlifting. They say that helps your metabolism significantly. They say that somehow that endorphin, the chemicals, the whatever that's being hit when you exercise and you mix that with the GLP-1 medication that is multiplying the metabolic healing. So I think it's possible, but more the people that it's possible, I think, is more for people maybe who haven't struggled with obesity their whole life.
Well, and there is going to be more and more people. It is fairly expensive. If you don't have insurance that's helping cover it, and 95% of people don't, it is cost prohibitive. And I do think, even if you're able to be on it for a while, it seems like it's an easier medication to get off of, being that there's almost no side effects. And then when it is affordable again, you can get back on it, and pick right back up where you left off. Your sister looks great I mean, she definitely didn't gain any of the weight back, and she lost a very significant amount of weight.
And she lost a lot of muscle.
Yes,
She
well,
says she didn't, but she definitely did. But then she started working out and she started gaining the muscle. But this is where we have to be careful with elderly people because they're not 39 years old.
yeah.
But
Well,
my sister absolutely gained her muscle back,
Well-
and now she can do the splits. It's creepy.
if it is creepy, you. Well, and some people, it could almost be addictive, to where you start to lose weight, so you up your dose to the point that you go, I want to lose more weight, I want to lose more weight faster and faster, until the point that you get into a kind of a spot that's not healthy. And I think that's kind of where your sister fell into, listen, if you're not feeling good, if you're physically ill, then you're totally not at the right dose. And in hearing your sister talk, there was times that she had gotten herself to that point.
She also used a standard doctor who was guiding her to. That was the plan. If you can't hack these are the side effects, and that if you can't hack those side effects, then this isn't the medicine for you. There was no option for not side effects.
Right, exactly.
But I'm not super worried about our community because we are already doing all of the things, and we're saying we want to be low and slow. Also, we've already done all the diets. We've already lost and gained and lost and gained and lost and gained. And if you screw this up, this is going to be one of those things too. So the lower you stay, the more likely this is to be a long-term solution for you.
Well, it seems like your group is a lot more in tune with their body than my group. My ice fishing on the weekends group, that group's not as in tune with their bodies as it seems like the group of people that you hang around with.
Jennifer brought up a good point. She's thinking about, I always say it wrong, eckermansia. So there's eckermansia, there's cowlicurb, and there's the Ben Bickman's tea. If you guys didn't know, he's the director of science on Ulicity, and they have Unamate tea, and it's supposed to be like a GLP-1 substitute that you drink. And if you guys want to see someone drink it, go look at Courtney Luna's videos, and she's like, but there are things you could take while you're cycled off. I honestly think the carnivore diet is a pretty GLP-1 heavy diet. So, I mean, when I cycle off, I am going to be probably a strict egg and lion dieter or something.
And also the carnivore diet
and allulose
is also very low inflammatory, which, being on this, one of the main, advantages that you gained from it was low low or no inflammation. So
they'd like you to come back.
Oh, what?
I think he should. Tyler was actually the original YouTuber. He has a channel called Weld It Once. There's like 4 videos. They're very cringy. He's
cringy.
Like, hello, I like to talk
about hey, I was getting it figured out. Hey, that's where her camera and microphones and everything come from. So she shouldn't be hating on my channel.
He's ahead of the times. He was also a Bitcoin miner for a while.
I was back before it was popular.
Okay, so we did get some questions. Did we start at the same time? We started about a week apart, but that's pretty much the same.
Yeah, well, I had to make sure that she wasn't going to die off on me, and then once she started feeling better, then I was willing to.
Let's be honest. In that week and a half, I had lost like 10 pounds of inflammation. It was like, oh my gosh, she's gonna get really hot this time. I better get on it too.
No, it was more like, hey, you might want to try this. And I was like, oh, a needle for real? You're going to stick a needle in yourself?
Yeah, what do you think about the needle?
Well, I was like, oh my God, there's no way. This is the craziest thing I've ever done. But then, I mean, it's comparable to being stung by a mosquito, only without the itchy side effect. The needle is so small. I mean, it is important that you pinch and put a little pressure on where it's going in, because then you don't
distract you.
You literally feel nothing at all. And I, was like a little girl when I got mine. I was thinking it was going to be really bad, but
Do you remember my first shot?
I don't think I was even there, was I?
You were laying in bed, and I did it really quick, and then I went, and then I came in and I said, I did it.
I don't,
And
I don't remember.
I
That
really
happens so
remember.
often with that reaction that it's just that time doesn't stick out in my memory. No.
Aside from your work, if access to carnivore food was not an issue, would you want to move towards a zero carb diet?
Oh, would I want to? Yes.
No,
Would
he doesn't
I?
want to.
Would I? Probably. I mean, so I would love to have the health benefits that come with it. Absolutely. I mean, my stomach can get so upset. It's very debilitating, just completely based on the garbage food that I eat.
I wish I had taken a picture when you had that tube down your throat and you were crying.
I have a picture.
He would have killed me.
It was the worst. It was the worst experience of my life. The tube is as big as my pinky. They pumped my stomach. The tube went in my nose and into my stomach, and they pumped my stomach. And there's different tubes for different applications, and they put the largest, hardest tube that they could fit
and left it in there.
And I mean, and it's comparable to just jam a toothbrush down your throat and leave. And as you're gagging on it, just leave the toothbrush in there. That's how it was. I was able to talk with it in my mouth, or in my throat, but I refused to, because I would gag so hard on this thing that it was just an awful experience.
Yeah, I would love to see you drop some of the pop and stuff like that, but we'll just slowly work there. I really think, like, I've been working towards this for 20 years, since The Biggest Loser.
Well,
it's been a 20-year thing for me. It's not like, it's way more sustainable if you're working on cutting the seed oils.
Yeah, so a big part of my and I mean, it's really not an excuse. There's truck drivers that travel way more than I do that are carnivore. But I fly a lot, I drive a lot, I'm on the road, traveling different companies, different places, consulting all the time. And so that's made it extremely prohibitive. If I was able to be home and eat almost all of my meals at home. Well, at our home, there isn't many options. Like, you would eat carnivore because that's all that Adrian buys. So the refrigerator is full of meat and fish, and you really don't have any other options. So I would definitely eat carnivore a whole lot more if I was home, just because that's the convenience food that's in the refrigerator. You got to cook it. It's not very convenient. But when you're hungry and you're in a hotel, or you're in a hotel with no way to cook, and I've tried grills and things like that, but I don't know, it's very challenging to be carnivore and be working like I do.
Let's see here. We had another one. It said, oh, and just so you guys know, when he's working projects where he has to be the site manager outdoor, he'll often bring a grill with him and continue to cook his steaks.
Yeah, absolutely. When it's feasible to cook steaks, I mean, there was a pretty good period where I have a miniature Blackstone in the back of my truck, and it was like hibachi, and I ate a lot of steak. And
some of the office projects are kind of tough.
Yeah, some of the or very short term, where you're going to a place and you're only there, you're in Mexico for 2 days, and then you're back in California, and then you're in Michigan, and all over the place. It makes it real difficult.
Okay, someone asked, when did you first meet me?
Oh, it's a great story. Oh, I met Adrian on Tinder.
For real. I wasn't the kind that was messaging people. Like, even then, my brain wasn't very good. So it's kind of like, hey, you're cute. Let's see how you do. And then you want to have lunch.
Oh, yeah. I didn't have any plans. This was literally, so I
was only making lunch dates, to be clear, because of the things that happen on Tinder. In public lunch dates.
I had absolutely no plans on dating. I was looking for somebody to go have dinner with.
He invites me to a dinner, and I'm like, should I break my rule?
It wasn't even, I had no expectations. It was like, hey, do you want to meet for dinner? I was working in the area, and I had been in this area for quite a while. And it was nothing more than hey, I would rather either pay for dinner for somebody else than eat alone. And we'll go have a good dinner. And I really don't care if you look good or not, or you have a good personality or not. It's just, I'm looking to go have dinner. I'm looking to go have
He tells
dinner.
me that he swiped right to everyone, and I'm like,
Yeah,
so, and now you're telling us we don't care if she's pretty,
I didn't
we
care.
don't care if she's a drug addict. It's just like, hey, I'm looking to have dinner with someone.
I'm looking to have dinner.
I was way more thoughtful.
We're gonna
about
go
it. I
have a
was
good
like,
time.
He's wearing a button up. He has dark hair.
No, I
He
was like,
appears to be pretty professional.
I don't care.
He's an engineer.
Yeah, no, I didn't.
We could have lunch.
I didn't care at all. No.
Then he invites me to dinner. He was like the first guy in 40 dates to not try to touch me, kiss me, or do something rude.
Oh, I was just there for dinner. It was good. We had a good dinner. We had a good conversation too.
I was really, really sick of some of the hugs I was getting.
Yeah,
And
no,
he was very polite. So he got a second date. Not many people got second dates.
Yeah, no, I had dinner with all sorts of very interesting people, and nothing more than dinner. I mean, I learned a lot. Took out some very interesting people. Had gone on a date with a lady that had cerebral palsy really bad, and it was very interesting and eye opening. And yeah, I had some wonderful dates, some great experiences.
Yeah, I had some traumatizing experiences. Men are gross.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Oh, we had a few other questions here. Joanne says, how did you meet? How did you meet? Oh, we already said that. I was thinking Joanne was saying, how did I meet Joanne? And I was going to say it was either Hack Your Health or it was Dr. Lisa's house. Okay, the next one. I'm taking the lowest dose. What can I do to avoid GI upset? Wow, someone has GI upset at 0.25. That's when I would say you need to go down to 0.125. Like you need to keep going down. Another thing people will say is add some aloe water and add 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar to 8 to 10 ounces of water, of filtered water, and that can help that as well. But some people, like it sounds like you, are insanely sensitive and good for you. Do you have any tips on that?
No, that's tough. I mean,
Tyler's like, get the Pepto.
I can relate, and that's terrible. Absolutely.
Do I have footage of starting peptides, how I felt, and the progress? I do. And I haven't released it because I'm very mad. Every single video. Every single video is me ranting of how you all are going to hate me because you don't know what you're talking about, and it's amazing, and it's changed my life, and it breaks my heart that there is so much judgment out there against this amazing tool. And that is my rant in every single video is I can't believe this is yet another thing that we have been lied to about. I think Big Pharma's handling it incorrectly to make money. I think they're making more customers by making people malnourished, and that they're just showing that it was a weight loss thing without making any change. I could go on and on and on. Those are every single video. Every video is, I'm so mad. And so I haven't released them because I'm not mad anymore. Like, love it or hate it, it's been a great tool for me and Tyler. It's been a great tool for people in my family. And I guess I don't care. For a long time, like up until the second that I came out about this, Tyler said, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it.
Well, times have changed a lot since then too. I mean, when you first started, it was very taboo and very, very frowned upon. And now it's a lot more mainstream than it ever was. I mean, even kind of back then.
Ooh, this is a super good point, Brett. That's such a good point. If you're having gut upset at 0.25, what are you eating? What you eat absolutely affects the side effects. Like Tyler said, he can't have the cheesy gordita crunch.
Yeah, well, or seed oils. I mean, if you'll know it if you eat seed. I'll hurt for 2 days if I eat seed oils, and it's very clear to me what I ate that I shouldn't have.
I really think that couples should go to joinmochi.com because it's the same. We're not going to talk about like thing. We're not going to go say any, but you can dose no matter what your dose is. So if he's on one dose, I'm on one dose. No matter what your dose is, we pay the same, and it's less than what the other companies are charging. Now they've made their vials so that they're good for 6 months. So it's good for a while if you're stocking up, and I love Join Mochi. I found them very easy to use. Tyler's now moving from Lavender Sky to Mochi. He has his appointment on Tuesday,
The 25th.
the 25th. He has his appointments now. He's getting set up with them. If you don't have a provider yet, that's who I highly recommend. The only thing is you have to ensure that you read the qualifications. They are a weight loss company, and so you need to ensure that you qualify. And if you don't, let me know. I know a small functional practice that understands this is way more than weight loss. This is, didn't your grandma die from Alzheimer's?
Yep.
This is Alzheimer's prevention, cardiovascular healing, healing non-fatty or non-alcoholic fatty liver, chronic inflammation. It can heal. Dr. Boss says everything from your brains to your bones to your bowels.
Well, and if anybody is nervous and they're just getting started and they want to make sure that they're coached through that process properly, that they're, you know, that you're able to do all of that stuff correctly, don't you have a calendar that they can sign up through?
I
To
can
help
help
you
you get started if you want. There's a link in the description down here. If you need any coaching, if you need all around health on top, you know, thyroid hormones, GLP-1, I have someone I send people to as well. If you need more of the medical care, but if you are good, you've done your research and you just want to get started and you don't know what to do, I am your lady. I'm here to help you. Okay, let's see here. Did we show this? Does your husband notice anything different going on carnivore and anything other weight GLP? I'm not exactly sure what that means, Rachel.
What's anything different going on carnivore? So I mean, I noticed different things when I went on carnivore for sure.
Oh, I wonder if she means with me, like me carnivore versus me carnivore GLP. But maybe it's not all about me.
Oh, maybe. Well, I mean, the biggest thing that I noticed was there was a point when I could never have drank Diet Pop. And after going carnivore and not consuming a ton of sugar, I was able to drink Diet Pop and not really notice that crazy of a difference. But there was a point in my life where I could never have drank diet soda. Ugh.
If you guys could hit that like, it would really help push this out and we would really appreciate it. And if you could also please subscribe, that would be amazing, and share with your friends. Maybe you know a couple who's considering this, or maybe just one. I honestly think it's great to do it together. I think even if one person is struggling with weight, the other person isn't, but maybe they have some of the other things going on, I think it can be good for so many things. I don't know about you, but you've maybe noticed I'm a little bit less scared of carbohydrates for the whole family.
Yeah, absolutely. And I
Like
mean,
previously, I was literally convinced that all carbohydrates are gonna like kill their brains,
well, like you said,
and I didn't want them to get insulin resistance.
you know, when you make the decision to go carnivore, I mean, people buy into it 100%. I think that's the right thing to do. That, and that, you know, and that's what you did. It's just you can, but like you said, for some people, that's just even if you're the best carnivore that there is, it just might not be enough to be able to really fix all of the issues that you know that have occurred from eating poorly for, you know, many years. So that's where this GLP-1 seems to really shine and be able to push you over that edge.
And my thought is I get triggered when people say that because I've been eating healthy my whole life.
Yeah.
But I think that there's some things in our environment that's causing damage, that's causing people to struggle with their weight. So I think if you have to fast for 30 days to try to lose weight, I think that there's something off.
But
And you could use some assistance.
part of your problem too is you had the gastric bypass surgery. So there's
But I struggled with weight my whole life.
Sure, but it doesn't matter how well that you eat. Now your hormones are off, and your food doesn't have long enough to digest, and it goes into the areas of your stomach that would have triggered the insulin, that they're gone now, or they're severely damaged from being cut. So, you know, it isn't even though you've eaten perfect for so long, you still struggle with weight because of that. And that's, you know, and other things could have triggered it as well. I'm sure that that's not the only thing. That's just what we've noticed. So if there's people out there who are struggling with weight, it could, you know, and you're thinking, I've eaten perfect for so long.
My best friend.
What's wrong? Yeah. You know, that doesn't
she's
mean
working out 5 days a week.
that doesn't mean that it's there is something else that's wrong. In your case, it's the gastric bypass surgery, and you've learned that through this journey. But there could be something else that was wrong, that's damaged, that isn't going to be able to be, you know, necessarily fixed just through eating carnivore.
I saw Dr. Ovadia speaking in several different places. I also got to talk to him at the Tampa meetup and just ask him like what, I have a friend who had a heart attack, even though she was a perfect carnivore for like 5 years and was exercising. She lost her weight, but her CAC kept going up. Her insulin was, other numbers maybe were going up too. And I asked him like, how come carnivore didn't heal this? And he said, it doesn't heal everything. Sometimes more is needed. And that was one of the flags for me, a lot of like, sometimes another tool is needed, but I still think we need at some point in the journey, the other base tools. Okay. And this is a good one because any blood pressure improvements, this is a good question because Tyler had high blood pressure and I believe that it's better.
Oh, it's absolutely better. There's no doubt about it. If I take the full amount, and I don't check it as often as I should, but if I take the full amount of a blood pressure medicine that I've been prescribed and I've taken for many years, now I get lightheaded, like my blood pressure is too low. So there's and so now I'll no advice from a doctor here by any stretch of the imagination, but I'll either cut the pill in half or I'll take it every other day, which is probably awful, but that's how I do it.
Well, I think that's all our questions. Do you guys have any more questions before we head off for the night? I really appreciate you guys coming. I think this was a lot of fun. It just goes to show people of all different walks of life could use this in a different way at a different dose, to help them with their overall health. And I appreciate you guys being open-minded enough to come hear our story. I know it used to be taboo. I believe by the end of the year that it's not going to be taboo. I think it's going to be similar to, hey, you're on thyroid medicine. Oh, that makes sense. You have a low thyroid. Oh, you're on bioidentical hormones. That makes sense. You've been symptomatic of hormone issues for a while. I think that this will be like the insulin resistance thing of, oh, you're getting insulin resistance treatment. That makes sense. Or inflammation treatment. Oh, of course. Yeah. But you've added it to your low carb diet and I see you working out, like go you. I honestly think that's going to happen. We're seeing it at the conferences. It's even at Hack Your Health this year. It was just at Low Carb Boca. It was just at the one in Las Vegas. And I'm getting messages from people who have very large accounts all the time of them saying, either I've already been taking a low dose of this and it's changed my life, or I'm considering and I'd like to know more information. Could you give me some more information? So I honestly think that I think it's going to change over the next year. But if you're considering it and you need any support, I have a one-on-one calendar down below, or we have a free Facebook group, Eat Neat Lift Heavy GLP group. And announcement, not ready yet, but probably next week, our website will be launched, radicallyhealthy.com.
Yeah. Well, way to make it a Minnesota goodbye.
Oh, yeah, that's what I do. Let's see here. I just wanted to see if there's any more questions. Yes, Dr. Jones is wonderful too. And it can take a long time to heal. I think even with this, I think this is a great healing tool. And I think sometimes it takes a long time to heal, no matter what tools are in your toolbox. And I think sometimes people need a lot of tools.
Well, we've compared it to a boat, and if the boat has a lot of holes in it, sometimes you're able to plug some of the holes, but you're still struggling until you're
like going low carb. You plugged a few holes.
Exactly.
You feel a lot better. You only had a couple holes, so you're perfect now.
You're feeling better, yes, and I think that this is kind of the ultimate to plug a lot of your holes so your boat doesn't keep taking on water and allows you to bail out a lot of the water that's already there.
I totally forgot a question. Speaking of something like that, somebody asked, this was a very important question, has this affected your libido?
I don't think anybody wants to know about that.
They asked.
Somebody asked that?
For real. No. I would say no to him. It has not affected his libido.
I don't think it changed. I mean, we used to do it every day and we still do it every day. I don't know if that's much of a change. It was strong and still is. So yeah, it hasn't changed.
What they mean is like, people lose appetite for sugar. Sometimes they lose appetite for gambling. They lose appetite for shopping. Have they lost their appetite for?
Yeah.
Plugging the holes.
Plugging the holes?
Here's your boat analogy. Anyway, I think it's a hormone helper, and so I think it's helping, and I definitely hasn't slowed him down. So,
Well, it doesn't hurt nothing for sure.
well, at that point, if you've made it this far, you got the best question of all. So if you guys would like to see us do this again, we would love to do it. So comment below, and I hope you guys have a great night. Don't forget, like, subscribe, and share. Good night.